And good morning, New Mexico. Yes, indeed. We appreciate all of you listening to 99.9 FM MA10. And we appreciate you listening to this great show, The Rusty Nut Show. And of course, your host, Mr. Gabriel Garcia of the Auto Angel the Vato. A lot of people ask, Gabe, why the Rusty Nut? Well, you are the Rusty Nut when it comes to automotives. You've been in the industry so long. You were probably walking the earth with Moses, figuring out how to get something rolling along. You know what I mean?
Get his huaraches quieter on the sand, bro.
There you go. No. Just figuring out, how to. I don't know what they used back then, but if you were living back then, brother, you would have
We would
figured
have
it
figured
out.
it out.
There
Good
you
morning,
go.
Patricio, and good morning to all of you listening. Thank you so much for tuning in to this radio station. Some of you are faithful listeners to the station, no matter who's on it. And right now, you're stuck with Patricio and I. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Rusty Nut Show.
Yes, it's a great show. Heard every Tuesday at 10:30. And of course, it's for me, it's educational. For a lot of our listeners, it's educational. And the purpose to keep your second largest investment after your home, your automobile. And of course, we want to keep you in front of the tow truck and not on top of the tow truck.
There you go. And uh, this show targets 12-year-old vehicles as the average age of cars on the U.S. roads today, and that's just kind of a national, I guess, fact. So let's get into it real quick. This show is an attitude of gratitude show. We're always so grateful for all the blessings that we have. So thank you so much to Quesuave Radio, giving shows like this a voice. And I know, yeah, there's a ton of other good shows. In fact, I heard Adan, the sheriff, talking Friday with your brother on the DWI show, and that was really informative. There's really, getting prepared for the holidays. So shows like that, the Rusty Nut Show wouldn't have a voice if it wasn't for all your guys' hard work. I want to thank Martin here at the Auto Angel. Without them, I wouldn't have the ability to be with you every week, Patricio, and I'm very grateful to them. We have our newest member is Ernest, and then Vanessa Montoya joining us recently. We've got David, Antonio, Emilio, Adan, Norma, and Old Faithful Todd. It's been with us a long time, and I'm super grateful to all of the hard work that they do every day, keeping our clients in front of the tow truck. Quick hi to my mom. Hi, Mom.
Mama.
Patricia, you got to come up with a new movida on that one. It's
I'll
Taco
get I'll
Tuesday,
get
brother.
one. I'll get
Taco
one. Oh
Tuesday.
yeah, baby.
Boom.
I love it.
Frijoles. We're talking whistleberry powered.
And of course, you know that we want to thank Advanced Auto Parts before we get too far into the show. Proud sponsors. They're right there on Siler Road. We appreciate them sponsoring this great show. And the great thing is, like I said, we're not, depends where you go, but you're going to get, firsthand service right there. They're going to help you find the part that you need for your vehicle. You're not going to be there all looking around, not knowing whether you're getting the right part or not. It all happens there at Advanced Auto Parts. And also, we want to thank Bubba for producing the show. You can catch us live not only on 99.9 FM, but you can also catch us on YouTube and Instagram and all that other good stuff. You know what I mean? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and live on the radio.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of Bobo's show, The Drive Home. He does
Yeah.
an excellent job. I think by far he's better than everybody on this show. But anyway,
I think you'd think too much.
you just are jealous. What do you say, the envidia?
Woohoo! La envidia,
Got
la,
your own game, mister.
la
All
envidia
right, real
mat.
quick, let's get into the red, white, and blue. Thank you. This is to all enlisted servicemen and women, active duty, stateside, abroad, reservists, veterans, and most of all, the familias that support these brave men and women. I can't emphasize it enough how grateful we are to live in this country, how lucky we are, but how grateful Patricio and I want to say that we are every week because we know that, we have the freedom to make decisions, make choices, and that freedom didn't come for free.
Exactly. And, I love what you always remind us about, having that empty seat. But you think about it, we go on with our lives every day, get up and count our blessings, and we really don't have a whole lot to worry about. But even just real quick, our military men and women all over the world, there in South Korea, and then you see the big issue going on with what's happening with Russia and, and even China. And we have our military men and women. So we appreciate everything they do. Our police officers, thank you very much. We're blessed that we can know that we can call somebody here in Santa Fe. We know our police officers, our finest, are going to show up there to protect us. And of course, our first responders and firefighters.
I had a video I put last week. I happened to be outside, and there was a vehicle stranded right in front of the Auto Angel. There wasn't one of my customers, at least not that day. He wasn't. But anyway,
Yeah.
he was stranded there, and the cops were behind him. Right? I didn't know he was stranded. I just saw the cops there. I thought, oh man, a fender bender or something. And no, they got out, and it was a woman police officer and then a policeman, and they used their cars to protect everybody. Their lights were on, etc., and they hand pushed him across the intersection to where he would be out of harm's way, and for the benefit of everybody on Cerritos Road, rather than waiting to call a tow truck. I'm sure eventually he did, but I put it on Instagram, and it got like a 200 likes or something, which for me is a ton. But more importantly, it was just trying to say thank you. I caught him doing going beyond their call necessarily. They're supposed to be catching or serving and protecting, you might look at it, but they're putting themselves in harm's way at that point. Because crossing Cerritos Road can be dangerous, period. But pushing a vehicle by hand is a whole other level of safety issues. So anyway, thank you to them so much, and everybody. Patricia and I always like to just kind of throw out there, you have this freedom by being a citizen here. Use it. Put your grocery cart back where you got it from. Or maybe you didn't get it from there, but put it where it belongs. Or maybe hold the door open for somebody coming in behind you or in front of you. Don't be so Cusco. Help a little. You can make good choices with your freedom. Now we'll get into the Azul Gracias. This is where we thank somebody for doing a job that's almost thankless. And this time we've touched on this once before, but I asked the team before they walked up earlier what job they thought was a good candidate this week. And Ernest, our newest member, said that he'd really like to thank nursing home caregivers, because he said, boy, he said, you have no idea how much they go through. And I guess it's pretty dear to him. He's recently experienced, I guess, with a loved one, how hard those people work. And it's one of those jobs that, if you don't experience it, how are you going to know? So to all of you caretakers out there, specifically taking care of the elderly or the helpless in those retirement homes, thank you so much.
Very good. So true. So true. And um, it's tough when people get old and they need caretakers, and it takes, I think, a special person to be able to do that, because you got to be patient, and then
Be strong.
It's your job. You got to be strong, but then you end up really caring for this person, and so it's hard. It's got to be heartbreaking a lot of times. So there you go. That's
emotionally straining, back breaking. I mean, it takes everything you got as a good person to do that job.
Having to bite your lip when they get cranky, and so.
Oh man.
Hopefully, when I get old, I'm not going to get cranky.
You're already both of those things.
No, not yet, brother. Not yet.
You're already man cranky. All right, let's get moving on. We got the Kyovos of the day. We're gonna shout out to Paul, Anthony, and Phil Padilla. Those are the tow truck drivers that I work with probably the most frequently. Also his brother-in-law Paul Garcia, he's A1 Towing. And then the Anayas, they also tow for us a lot. I appreciate the Anayas a bunch. And Dominic with Expert Towing, shout out to those guys, because that's a dangerous job. And while you and I are at home at night, they're still taking calls and they're still getting people out of harm's way.
I believe it. Well, I was thinking about, I want to say good morning to Raul Gallegos. He always listens to us. And
all
of course,
finally you pick someone different. Kyovo, Raul.
I always pick a lot of people different, brother. You know what I mean?
Same one guy over and over.
Justin Vigil, Anthony Valdez. I got a pila gente, but I do got to say, I know I pick Benny Zamora, but he loves our show.
I think Benny's mad at you because you didn't guess his truck right the other day.
I think he sides with you more as far as knowledge. I thought I had about a lot of knowledge when it came to our cars, but I don't have nothing. So Benny's always saying, nope, Gabe was spot on. Gabe was spot on. Come on, don't be a lambe, Benny.
Go ahead, Benny. Keep telling him the truth. He don't like it. He's back to the Nvidia problem again.
And of course, I want to say hi to Judge George Anaya Jr. Great people, him and his wife. So Trish.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a hard highlight right there.
Yes, sir.
Man, you're carrying a lot of responsibility. All right. So let's get into real quick. I want to touch on something that we're a part of every year. Last year, because of COVID, it got shut down. But this year, we're going to just get a late start. But anybody listening, if you have a loved one who's passed away and you cannot purchase that loved one a Christmas gift, think about buying a brand new toy in their memory. The purpose with that would be, let's say someone you cared about, like my brother, he liked motorcycles. So let's say I buy a motorcycle toy and we're gonna be collecting them here at the Auto Angel. You could bring that toy here. Ultimately, they're going to be going to the San Miguel County's Christmas party, which is basically handled by the American Legion post there in Pecos. Ernest is in charge of that, Ernesto Rodriguez. And he and I have worked together in the past. It's a Keep a Memory Alive toy drive by the Auto Angel, but those toys will go directly out there. And, San Miguel County has just as many challenges as any other county, but in some cases more when it comes to people in need. So we're collecting toys here at the Auto Angel. Remember, it's the Keep the Memory Alive toy drive is kind of my own twist on it. I'd love to be able to buy my brother a gift, but I can't anymore. Both of my brothers have passed, so I'm going to buy a gift that reminds me of them. And then maybe that would inspire the next generation to like horses or motorcycles or whatever it might be. So we will be collecting toys starting today all the way till I think the 15th of December. We're going to try and get Ernesto on the radio before all that's said and done so that people can get more information. So that's all I got on that, Patricio.
And real quick, I love the way you're kind of tying it to somebody who's lost a loved one, where we can bless somebody else. And my dad always used to say, recuerde que hoy por ellos, mañana por nosotros. Today it's for them, but tomorrow could be for us or one of our family members. And the only thing, we did lose my brother, and he had great ways of coming up with some great gifts, but he always made them. You know what I mean? He'd either cut off his T-shirt or his shirt and cut off the sleeves and give it to you. You know what I mean? Or he'd get used Christmas cards and just scratch out the name and put your name on it. But with that being said, this is for a great event, and we want to ask people to mainly donate brand new toys, right?
Correct. Brand new toys, and do not gift wrap them.
Yeah, and also no stuffed animals.
Preferably no stuffed animals. I mean, there's this age groups range. I've seen infants there at that party, all the way up to teens. So whatever inspires you. Again, that's kind of my twist on it. Is all of us have someone that we wish we could buy a gift for, and we can't. I mean, that was a big part of my Christmas, was always giving to my bros, and I can't do that anymore. So I'm gonna give here instead. That's how I got involved.
At what age? Or what ages are you?
Age groups, again, I've seen infants there that receive gifts all the way up to teens.
Okay.
So whatever inspires you. Again, so that's why I look at that is you have someone that maybe played the drums, so you're going to give a kid drum set, or maybe you have somebody that was a football athlete. Whatever it may be, that should be your inspiration behind that gift, knowing that you're keeping their memory alive.
And they can take the gift there to the Auto Angel. What's the address there?
3140 Cerritos Road. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're closed during the lunch hour, so don't bring it during lunch.
You got it.
Cerrado,
I like it, brother. Okay.
And then I think later in the week, we're probably going to start offering wiper blades too. Last year or year before, we were doing a set of wiper blades in exchange for a toy. So don't be afraid to ask about that. I still have those in stock, or I have some new ones, I think. So we'll work on that. This is coming to me a little bit late because of COVID. No one was real sure that this event was going to take place. And even with COVID, I think they're doing it as a drive-through party. But again, we'll get back to Ernesto Rodriguez on that. Okay.
I like it. Okay.
Let's get into the topic for today. The whole point of the Rusty Nut Show is to get you some education on how to keep that carruch in front of the tow truck, right?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Hey, you know what, man? This is kind of more humorous, but I got somebody stole my credit card.
And
have you ever had that happen?
No, thank God. And
but I decided not to report it because they're spending less than my wife is on that card.
We know who's gonna be in it. We know who's going to be in the doghouse.
We know
tonight,
that she don't listen. So
yeah.
Boom, vámonos.
Yeah. Dale.
Let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is getting what you pay for, and we're really going to talk about what we call in the industry comebacks or rechecks. So recheck, not rejects. What that means is you paid for a service and it didn't stay fixed. It didn't fix the problem. So what do? That's kind of this whole purpose. So maybe you might not return when this happens to you at the beauty shop or at the restaurant or even maybe at a dentist. If you have a bad experience, you might not be inclined to go back and complain or even deal with it because the experience might have been so negative that you're not willing to give them an opportunity to correct it. Does that make sense, Patricio?
Yes, sir. Yes,
All right.
sir.
So and I get that, but in the service industry, I want to say that it's probably a better opportunity for you to allow that entity to at least one opportunity to correct it. And what we're going to go there is when you have service providers that have teams of hardworking people, the owners or the managers need to know, and maybe even they deserve to know when mistakes are made. For example, let's say you hired Matt from ProTech AC and Heating, right? You call ProTech AC and Heating. His guy comes over to fix your heater. Maybe he does a great job. Heater's fixed. But you notice when he left, maybe his van left a spot on your driveway and you don't like it. It's got an oil leak. If his team doesn't know that, then they're going to keep making that mistake at every client's property.
Mhm.
So if they did you a solid job and you're happy with them otherwise, you'd be doing them a solid by complaining about it. You're not really complaining, you're just making them aware of the fact. And then that would go next to ProTech would be that's when they might pick up the phone and call the Auto Angel and say, hey, we paid you guys to fix that oil leak and we're getting complaints that it's still leaking. And if I don't know that my guys weren't able to fix that with the product we used, then I might not be fixing other cars the same way. It could be a product problem. It could be that I need to train somebody better. There's a lot of things that if I don't know what's going on, if I don't get the feedback, then I'm not going to be able to correct it. So, I always encourage people when they call me and they say, I had it at another shop. I say, did you go there? Did you go back? Did you let them know? Did you ask them? And sometimes they did give them, the opportunity and they failed again. And by then I just say, okay, we'll move on. But if they didn't give them an opportunity to correct it, I always encourage them that they should.
Well, and I think, it's like you say, if somebody takes their vehicle to a place and they're not satisfied, the best thing to do is be honest with them. And a lot, though, I think has to do with also don't shoot the messenger. I think we got to figure out how to be very respectful and diplomatic as to how we communicate the issue and the problem. And this way, it's good for both sides. And you've been honest with whoever you've taken your car to, and then you go from there.
And my dad was big on, he always used to say that the only people that didn't make mistakes were the people that didn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a fact that we have to recognize that as consumers, that there's more often any entity that you go to here. Let's just say here in Santa Fe, I don't care which one of our competitors that you patronize, the likelihood is they want to do a good job. They're not intentionally cutting a corner to try and do a bad job. So giving them the benefit of the doubt and making them aware of the fact that you're not satisfied would give them an opportunity to correct it. But there's a side of it that you trusted them and you spent hard-earned money on, and you deserve to get a quality job.
Well, and I also say, dealing with your vehicle, you're dealing with a lot of parts and things like this that is not manufactured there at wherever you're taking it to. And so who knows, there could be a malfunction or something wrong with the,
Trying to
with a
take
part.
the thunder out of my storm.
Well, I've been listening to you for so long. I got a lot of wisdom. God tells us to listen to wisdom, and you being the rusty nut, you have a lot of wisdom under that cachucha.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, man, because that is something I'm going to touch on. So let's keep going. Get me steer this back on track. The other quote that I quoted my dad there. The other one I want to quote is somebody who I have a lot of respect for, Skip Sauerman. He was our automotive instructor at Votech when I went through that program. He's a veteran. He still lives and he's still part of Santa Fe. He still participates at the community college in their automotive program. He's on the advisory committee. He's just a solid all-around good man. I trust him and I believe in him. And one of the things that he always says is that a misdiagnosis, it's unfortunate, but it's not illegal. And doctors do it all the time, was his famous kind of twist on that. And people kind of can relate then all of a sudden. It's like, it's not that a mechanic or maybe an AC and heating guy or a plumber, if they make a misdiagnosis, it wasn't intentional. That's all it was a mistake. And doctors do it all the time and they get paid to do it. They get to practice.
Right.
Well, right. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, I agree with you. And like you said, you know what? Nobody's perfect. When are you going to start quoting me?
Well, 4, you don't ever be quiet. I don't have to quote you. You quote yourself.
You get what you pay for. When are you going to start quoting
Maybe.
me?
And that's what this whole show is about. Do you or don't you? And when do you defend yourself if you don't? That's what I'm trying to get across here, because there are times that you have the right to question, and that's kind of, I'm going to help some people. I got some explanations or some examples here. All right, so let's
Good.
keep going. Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we talked about misdiagnosis. So a rusty nut certified opinion is how to handle a misdiagnosis. So what that means is the key here and is going to be documentation. So documentation is key. If it wasn't written down, if it's not printed, then it didn't happen. And I kind of scared some people before by using this term, but in front of a judge, documentation is critical. That doesn't mean you're going to sue the entity. It doesn't mean they're going to sue you or you're going to court. I'm just saying, in order, if you go back home and your wife reads a receipt and it doesn't say that you bought an air filter, then how's she going to know? It has to be in print. It has to be written down so that, so keeping those receipts and having them so that you can read them and be able to document. And that goes on both sides. For the entity that's doing the service needs to document it, and the consumer that's paying for that should receive some documentation on what was done. And it should be pretty clear, clean, easy to read. It shouldn't be hard to understand. Go ahead.
And I think it can raise a red flag, Gabe, when you go to a place, a business, and they're not wanting to give you any type of written information as to what they're going to do to your vehicle, then I think that should raise a red flag there.
Yeah, and I'm a fan of printed invoices. Now, there's probably still quite a few good guys out there that are handwriting them, and that's okay. It's just can be difficult. I mean, we speak in our industry, we speak a different language that a lot of people don't interpret as well as we do. And something as simple as cut the rotors or replace the rotors might not mean the same, or might mean the same thing to somebody, and it's not. So
How
go
about
ahead.
do you got to say, me saqué el jaque de tronque para cambiar el frate?
There you go. So if you're typing Spanglish, you can get even more
Huh? See?
local. Yeah. Lee Garcia would have understood that.
That's right, brother.
He'd have been the only one.
Get the jaque from the tronque.
Yeah,
Everybody
there you
knows
go.
that,
Get
brother.
the gato out of there. All right. So let's get another kind of more better example in this. Let's say you paid for a repair that did not fix the problem. So you picked up your vehicle, drove it home, and it did it again, whatever it may be. So the Rusty Nut certified opinion is to call, and like Patricia touched on earlier, keep your composure. Don't shoot the messengers, what your favorite way of putting that is, but you're calling to notify the establishment that the car's still doing what you took it in for. It did it again, or still doing it. The Rusty Nut certified opinion at that point is be prepared for that phone call. Have something to write down notes. So having a pen and a piece of paper there with you, don't call while you're driving because that's dangerous anyway. But you want to be able to write down who you talked to and what they told you. Because if you're not happy with the answer that they gave you, if they say, oh, yeah, well, we could see you next Friday, it's like, no, that's not acceptable. I just paid for this and it's not fixed. I want, I'm not rude or I'm not asking for too much, but I want sooner than that. And if you at least write down, Gabriel told me that he couldn't work on it till Friday, then when you ask to speak to a manager, you would be able to reflect on that instead of, well, who told you that? That's not our policy. You would be able to confidently quote the person that gave you the information that you didn't want to hear or didn't like the way you heard it.
I like that, especially the part about a lot of times people don't ask who they're speaking with. And getting the right information.
That's it. Writing it down is really helpful. And even let's flip this around. Let's say at the end of this, you want to compliment the individual who helped you rather than complain about it. You want to say, hey, you know what? Gabriel, Ernest up front at your counters, a really good guy. He was very helpful to me. It's really nice when you can offer that kind of, appreciation with the person's name. So there's two reasons why you want their name, I guess, for good and for bad. Okay.
I like it.
Awesome.
Hey, people can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. That's why I was saying, keep that paper there in front of the camera, brother.
Yeah, I know you say this is unscripted, but I do try to prepare because I can get off topic easy and I don't want to miss some important things. about that. Now, the other thing is, you as the consumer, okay, so let's use something simple. Your car wouldn't crank, and you bought a battery, let's say, for instance, and they put a battery in it, and you left there confident that it was fixed. Next day, it doesn't start again. Rather than calling and complaining and telling them they're wrong, all we want to do is give them the benefit of the doubt, is say, look, it's that battery, something's going on. Car still doesn't start. There are dealerships all over the world full of vehicles being repaired under warranty. By that, I mean they're brand new parts that failed within a certain period. So it's not out of the question. This is what you were touching on earlier, is they bought a battery, Auto Angel buys a battery, puts it in your car, and the next day it failed. That's possible. I mean, that battery came from somewhere, came on a truck, semi-trucks, got a lot of handling, somebody dropped it, whatever. Maybe that's not as good as example as maybe a starter with a bunch of moving pieces in it. Regardless, giving that entity the kind of common courtesy is just the benefit of the doubt. Hey, I paid you guys to fix it, and I want you to fix it still. Please pick it up, or whatever those policies are to move forward, but not assuming that they were wrong. At this point, we don't have enough information yet. So don't shoot that messenger the way that Patricio said. We're going to stay calm. We're going to just ask for recourse on getting it back to the way it was when I picked it up.
Amen. And that's where it comes down to finding somebody you trust, somebody that you know, somebody that you're confident with, that is going to be honest with you and tell you the truth. And then you make that decision. But you want to find somebody that's going to be upfront to tell you the truth, what they figure is wrong with your vehicle. And then you have a decision to make.
There you go. And now let's say it's starting to get what we say, it gets ugly, right? Where you got an estimate to make a repair. Maybe you paid for it. Maybe you picked it up. Maybe it still does it. And now you're back at that same entity, and they're offering you an estimate for a different component. Car didn't start. First thing we sold you was a battery. Now I'm selling you a starter. It's like, well, was it really the battery to begin with? That's not a question that's a bad question. That's not it's not something you shouldn't ask. You definitely want to say, well, did I even need the battery? Did you guys diagnose it right the first time? And depending on the answer that you get, you might be satisfied that they are correct in that, or you might not. And that's when you might want to, again, take your notes, be able to go back to a manager and say, look, I don't think it's fair that I bought this battery, and the very next day I was stranded again. And you can, at that point, be okay to emphasize, the inconvenience that you went through and how much faith you're putting in them to make it right. And that empowers that manager to be able to use whatever resources he has to satisfy that. So that's something that does happen, and it happens both sides. It happens that somebody misdiagnosed the battery, or it happens that there was more wrong with it and it's an intermittent starter and it ended up needing both. That's possible.
I was thinking about what you were saying. I'm just wondering, it sure be hard to, whether it be the battery, the starter, or then you got the alternator. So you got, like, to me, three things that make your car kind of turn over and gets going. So that's, again, I know people hear it all the time. Find somebody you trust, somebody knowledgeable, and realize that if they do make a mistake, most likely the people that you do business with are going to make it right. We got 1 minute, Gabe.
All right, let's summarize it real quick. Get documentation from the purchase that you make. So get a receipt. Now in today's world, there's a lot of paying text to pay. There's pay over the phone. There's all kinds of things that you might not get an invoice for. Get the invoice, ask for it. It could be emailed. It could be printed and put in your car when you're going to pick it up. There's a bunch of factors that will come into play, and that will pay dividends later if you have to defend yourself. Also, it helps you from overbuying. You go to a different entity, they want to sell you a battery again. It's like, I have a receipt showing I just bought that last year. So that'll help you. And then, approaching a comeback or a mistake or a recheck with keeping your composure will go a long ways. Kindness will get you a lot more in return from any entity. It doesn't matter if you're at the airport or if you're at the doctor's office or you're at the Auto Angel. If you're kind to the people who are trying to help you, they're going to be kind in return. Seems kind of simple, but it's easy to get upset when you feel like they deliberately misdiagnosed it, or that you feel like you've been oversold, or a lot of people, oh, they took me for this, or I got taken for a ride. Yeah, you need to change that attitude a little bit and know that they did their best to try and help you. Give them the benefit of the doubt, and you'll probably be glad you did.
Very good. I love it. I love it. Of course, we want to thank Advanced Auto Parts for making this show possible. We want to thank the Auto Angel. And pretty soon, Gabe's going to start quoting me sooner or later. I can understand why he quotes his dad so much because we all want to be able to quote our poppy. But remember, you get what you pay for. And I like to brag about the Auto Angel because Gabe is, taking care of my family while the kids were in college. But also, there's good people there like Lee Garcia Tires. There's Ranger there at the new old San Fe Trail garage. Find somebody you can trust. Joe Ortiz Paint and Body. Good people, and so you mentioned Matt from ProTech. There's all kinds of good people, but you want to find somebody you can trust, somebody that's going to be honest, somebody that's going to tell you the truth, and then you go from there.
One real quick, I guess I should have summarized. It's a service after the sale that we've heard bunches of times that really does make the difference.
Hey, God bless you, brother, and appreciate it. Don't forget, real quick, 30 seconds. Gabe's doing that Toy Drive, brand new toys. Okay,
the Memory Live Toy Drive, brand new, $30 roughly value at this point. $30 would go a long ways. $20 if that's all you got, something of that nature. Have fun with it. It's to keep the Memory Live Toy Drive.
You guys have been listening to the Rusty Nut Show, heard every Tuesday at 10:30 right here on 99.9 FM, AM 810. Back to you, Bubba.